Okay, so this is a reflective exercise in this tutorial. We're going to go back and take a look at some of the things we've already done to try and better understand how to apply and what it is we're actually doing. So you should be asking the tutor any questions you have about why am I doing this or what does this mean. Now, if I take a look at the questions we do this week, the first question is, which table has invoice numbers in it for accounts payable transactions? So this is where the business is paying a vendor. In sample.acl, we have four core cycles, accounts payable, accounts receivable, inventory, which is where we put our stock, and payroll. Accounts payable is here, and here is AP Trans. AP Trans has invoice numbers in it, definitely. Invoice number there. So that's the first part of the question. If we wanted to identify missing invoice numbers, hey, wow, I've got this really powerful ACL tool. What if I do some analysis and I use the gaps command to tell me if there are any missing invoice numbers? Now, there's an awful lot. Does that mean anything? Well, this is accounts payable, where the vendors send us an invoice. Those vendors don't put their invoice numbers in order and compare them with each other. So by definition, these are going to be all over the shop. So there's no real drama here that there are gaps found. So that's okay. Then, duplicated invoice numbers, we would do analyze and duplicates. Now, there are no duplicates. So, interesting. Not really. It wouldn't matter, going on to question 2, if vendor numbers are missing, vendor invoice numbers are missing, or even if they're duplicated. It just would not matter. The invoices, the numbers are pretty much random, and they would not have any relationship to each other. Where that does happen is in the accounts receivable table. But before I do that, I'll just do the statistics on AP Trans, on invoice amount, analyze, and statistics is there. So this is giving me an idea of the range, and that's what that's really going to do for me. It's giving me an idea of the range, what the highest, the lowest, the next highest, the next lowest. That tells me that if I knock off the top invoice, I've got a big difference in my highest number. So I've probably got a skewed distribution, I would say. If I take a look up here, it also tells me absolute value and totals. There's no negative invoices in there. So that's okay. Average is there. I should be able to go back into stats. Give me mean, median, and mode. Give me standard deviation. Run it again. I've got some more information. So now I've got a bit more. I can tell you that it's definitely going to be skewed. I've got a median of $772 and an average of $2,700. So I've got definitely, for those that recall statistics, a skewed distribution and skewed towards the lower end. So I've got quite a bit different between the numbers at the highest end and the ones at the lowest. I've got more in the low range. And that's what this statistics is going to tell me. Ones that we issue, invoices we issue, that's going to be accounts receivable. We send an invoice to somebody, so we issue it, and they have to pay it. That is, by definition, accounts receivable. Now, I want to identify missing invoice numbers. Well, yes, I can do that. Here's our refno, and I could just run this. Here's my gaps, and there's all my gaps. However, one of the problems I've got is in this table, we have invoice numbers and credit notes all lined up together. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I want to go data and analyze and gaps. Double click on this. More, scope, while. I'm going to go into here. Refno equals IN, which is invoice number. Click OK, click OK. 0 gaps. Okay, let's see if I agree with that. So I can First thing I'm going to do is run a filter over the top of that and type equals IN. I'm just seeing invoice types now. I'm going to sort it by that. Okay, let's try running a gap sequence on that. Okay, so 206,300 to 207,137, I have a gap. In fact, I have a load of gaps. There's some there that run together. So if I take a look at my system down here, that was down in 213,317. Okay, so it's seeing that they're together, and that's okay. There's obviously quite a few missing items down here. Is that meaningful? Yeah, I probably want to find out what's going on there. I probably want to know why I've got invoices here that have been issued, and towards the bottom end, our gaps, if Windows comes back to me, towards the bottom end, our gaps are getting shorter and shorter. You can see that, so we're not seeing so many gaps. Now, the rationale for this will probably be that we issued a lot of invoices in the previous year, and consequently, they've been paid, and they were paid in the previous year, and when you rerun the system, they're zeroed, they no longer need to be recorded in the system. That's not going to come back to me anytime soon. Okay, let's try opening that up again. It's all right, we didn't do anything that was useful. Okay, so what I was getting to was that in accounts receivable, I run my filter over it, type equals IN, and I was going to sort it by refno. So early on, 10/15/2000, so that means that 15th of October, 15 October, they've paid, or that we've issued the invoice, and it's probably not been paid already. Whereas later on, down the bottom of our table, and what I'll do, I'll just sort this by the other way. Okay, 31 December, we're seeing checks that are a bit closer together. 393, 392, 388. So in my gaps report, I should see down the bottom, yes, so 76 to 388. There's a sequence there of them running. So the reason we've got bigger numbers up the front is these are old invoices being paid out. So that's what that means. Now, if I run a duplicate on it, I will be astonished if I've got any duplicates. Put that to the screen. Click OK. 0 duplicates. Type equals IN, so our filter is applied. So we found gaps. We found no duplicates. It would matter if they're missing or duplicated. I'm curious to know what's happened later on where these items have been freed up, removed from the list. I need to understand the data a little bit better. So I'd probably go ask some questions, just so I understand the questions that I can ask. Using the duplicates command, can you see if any employees live at the same address? Okay, so we're going to go down into payroll. Here's our EMP. We've got all of this material here. These are all the employees. Let's go into their address and we'll do a duplicates report. There's no duplicates. Probably if I went to City, I should probably find some duplicates. Campana, Columbus, and London. So 2 people live in London, 2 people live in Columbus, and 2 people live in Campania. Now, the reason I drew that is in case I've got some fake employees. I'll be looking for that concern. Or perhaps I've got people who might collude. I might have husbands and wives. I might have boyfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend. I've got all sorts of combinations going on. So there might be people who have relationships, and the address might flag that to me. For example, as soon as I go to, if I go back and I take a look at Columbus, there's a PO box. Here's Estrin and Takvorian. So what I'm worried about is, are these people possibly going to collude? That's a PO box. Are they really in the same spot? I don't know. We'd have to go have a look. Sort the inventory table. Use the gaps on the payroll to see if there are any gaps in check number. Oh, okay, let's go to the payroll then. Here's our payroll. Check number. Okay, first thing, I'll just check that it's sorted. And I'll analyze it, and are there any gaps? There are 4 checks between 12,388 and 12,393. 388 and 393. So 393, there were 4 checks missing. Oh, okay, interesting. What happened to those checks? I need to go find that out. There should be some record of that payment. Now, it may not be a check, I presume. It's probably an EFT, but there should be some unique identifier. That means that a number's been assigned and then removed. It could just be if it's printed that there's been a problem. Any duplicate employees in here? Here we go. Analyze duplicates. Okay, 320. Okay, so 320 has been duplicated. Check 76 and 77. Okay, what does it mean if there were duplicate employees? 320 also works in the same work department, E21 and E83. Same gross pay, same taxable amount, net pay. Interesting. Sequential checks. Okay. I want to know more about E21 and E83. I've got this table down here. Here's work departments. E21 is sales, and the other one was, oh, I'll have to check that again. I want payroll. It was check 77. Here we go, E21, E83. There is no E83. Ah, interesting. So now I've got a records violation happening, and I would probably go off and check to see whether work department, any others are missing, for example. If I filter this and just tell it that I want to see work department equals E83, click OK. That's the only person. Who is this mysterious 320? So now I go to EMP mast, filter for EMP no equals 320. I think that's the right number of numbers. Let's click OK. It's Oscar Bijers living in Stockholm. His main work department is E821, not E83. Something's fishy. I want to know more about what's happened there. So I'd go try to hunt down that person. I'd say there's probably an error and they've been overpaid. Why did they not find that themselves? That's a question I'm going to ask. Why did it happen in the first place? Use the sort command to sort the inventory table by market value. So let's go find the inventory table. Get rid of that. Here's the inventory table. Now it's long. Sort it by the market value. So I just use a right click. I could also do a sort, I think. Data, sort, by market value, by customer date. Oh. Okay, so I don't want to create a new table, but I could do it that way if I wanted to. Okay, now if I want, I've just sorted it, right-clicked to do what I needed to do. Which product has the highest value? Let's go the other way. 1/2 inch soft tubing, 30-inch coil, 30-foot coil. So the 30-foot coil of 1/2 inch soft tubing. And it is worth $143,000. Interesting. It's the biggest ticket item we've got. So that's the highest value. We're probably going to go verify that that thing exists. And if we go the other way, I've got, sorry, if we go the other way, negative 839. This makes no sense whatsoever. It's telling me that if I sold this stuff, I would be worse off than having it on the shelves. I don't understand that. How does that happen? Negative 12 quantity on hand. There we go. Again, that makes no sense. What's odd? Look, it seems like we've had a stock out. Probably we've got stuff on order. Quantity on order, 1,215. I suspect that because we're buying in such big lots, our stock take isn't particularly effective, and that quantity on hand count is probably incorrect. We've sold more than we had, so we might have some in stock. So it's probably a data entry error at some point. Perhaps we found a cache. Perhaps we wrote some off earlier and they've magically reappeared. Don't know. Would I go looking? Maybe not for that size, but maybe. Okay, consider market value in inventory. How is it calculated? Now, this is where I would want to know more about this market value. So let's just go back to sorting it by product number. Now, market value is the value of what's in inventory and how much I could sell it all for. So if I take a look at my table, I've got a sale price and a quantity on hand. Now, if I'm walking around with a calculator, I could just multiply that out. We can actually add a column to verify that we've got what we need. So quantity on hand and, hang on, is that what I want? Expression. Quantity on hand, multiply it by sale price. Okay. So if my theory is correct, quantity on hand times sale price gives me market value. So that's what that's given to me. I'm a curious person, perhaps even a skeptical one. Have there been any variation? Have they calculated it correctly? It looks like they've calculated it using quantity on hand times sale price. That's the way it's meant to be. What I'm going to do is set up this column to tell me if there's any difference between my calculated market value and their market value. So the easy thing to do is take what I've already done, subtract market value. So if quantity on hand times sales price and market value are the same, I'm going to have a column with all zeros because I've subtracted market value. And I've got 0. Let's just check if I do it descending. Yep, all zeros. Ascending, all zeros. So they've calculated market value correctly. Now, inventory value at cost. Okay, I'll go back into this, check on this. Actually, you know what? Let's add a new column just to show that we know what we're doing. Add columns and quantity on hand again. Expression. Quantity on hand, multiply it by Now there's a column here called something like inventory at cost, unit cost. There we are. Click OK. Click OK. Quantity on hand times unit cost. Inventory value at cost. Let's just drag that next to each other. Look, I've got the right formula. It's like I've done it before. Double click on this, and I'm going to check again. Minus inventory value at cost. I'm going to go and say that's what this is, value. It's just got documented in there in its title. Now, again, if there's any errors, I'll end up with a non-zero amount. Quick sort ascending. Yep, there we go. Okay, so those two things all matched. So that's our challenge, calculate the items. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that sort and make sure that we go back to having product number on its own and sort it by that. Okay, which is what we did before. I need to use a filter to identify items with a market value greater than or equal to $50,000. So these are the ones I'm going to go check. Now here's my filter. Give me a market value greater than or equal to 50,000. Click OK. I've got the soft tubing. Oh, let's try that with 25,000. There we go. So I did $50,000. That's the big one. I actually want to look at 25,000 or more. So here they are. What I'm going to do, I now want to export those. Data, export. We've done this before. Here we go. Give it a file name. Tutorial 06. Click save. It's going out as an Excel file. Click OK. We'll minimize that. Minimize that. Go off to our Explorer. Yep. And tutorial 6 is down at the bottom. Here we are. Open that up. Bring that over to here. There's my spreadsheet. Format, columns, optimal width. Okay, so I've got everything in here that's on my board. Okay, so I can manipulate that using Excel if I wanted to. I don't want to. Go back to ACL. Now, the final thing is, why might I use ACL instead of Excel? So, look, I've got a log file in ACL. Everything I've been doing tonight has been logged, okay? So, Excel doesn't do that. So I can use that and I have a record to show what I've done. I might use Excel to do some analysis and attach it as a working paper to my audit work papers, but that won't give me a log file like this does and an ability to check my calculations. So it's quid pro quo. It depends on how good your Excel skills are, but the normal expectation would be that you've done your analysis using ACL and you can repeat it and you've logged it and you can put comments in and do all that kind of thing. So that's exactly what we've got there. This organisation, pretty good. A couple of little things going on. Don't quite know how I end up with negative inventory. I'd want to look at the controls around that. Don't quite know how I've ended up with paying someone twice. I'm really just using this as a frame to go and ask some more questions. Probably none of those things are going to change my ideas that their financial statements are invalid, but they are pointing me in the direction of some questions. And that's it for tonight.